Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs, and welcome to my channel. Today I will be sharing my beginnings of my little Kawandi quilt representation. I'm joining along with K3n Clothtales, her weekly stitch along, and she's on week 11. And week 11 is a Kawandi quilt, and so I have just begun mine here. But I also thought I would share, I jumped in on week number 10, and that was feathers. So I have shared my feathers page, and I decided to try to go back and catch up a tiny bit. I don't know if I will do all the weeks prior to week 10, but I did go back to week 9 and did the 9 patch. And that's what this is. And I've sewn this to the first page, and that is stitched up here. So for this one, I just lifted this out of the way and stitched here, stitched this one on, not catching this page, and coming down below this one, because I think I've only got 52 pages in all of the signatures, so I don't want to have to make another book or another grouping of signatures. I thought I'll try to do them back to back if I can, if they're not too thick. But so this is the little 9 patch, and these were some little half square triangles that I had left over from a little quilt that I'm working on with 6-inch blocks. And so I just sewed these together to form a 9 patch, and I turned these edges under. I know k3n turned all of the edges under on all of her 9 patches, little squares, but hers are separate. I sewed mine together, so I decided to also turn these edges under. I did a little bit of running stitch kind of quilting on here, and I did a stem stitch around the outside of this 9 patch square, and then around the very outer portion I did some running stitching with sort of an aqua color and a brown, just as a little frame. And then I just wrote on here so that I would know it was a 9 patch prompt, and I wrote 9 patch joy, because I love 9 patches in quilts. I think they're they have so much possibility. You can do so much with them. So that was week 9. Now for week 11, I just cut a piece of fabric that would fit on my signature page, of course, and this is the back side, which is finished. From what I understand, it should be, we fold to the inside these seam allowances so that it's all finished on the outside. So I just finger pressed those and then ironed them so that I wouldn't have to worry about holding that down and holding these down up on top as well. And I chose some patches. I actually have chosen all of my patches just because that's the way I like to work. I know some people like to work serendipitously. I like to work where I kind of know where I'm going with things. And so I have chosen my patches. And where I got these, I should have left this up here. Where I got these is I have these fabric bins in my quilt studio, and these are just all little offcuts from other quilts that I have been working on, and these are pieces that I just wouldn't throw away, pieces of fabric, and I use these when I'm making improvisation blocks. Not necessarily, well, I guess they are maybe kind of crazy patch blocks, but these are all such good pieces of fabric. So, and I have them all labeled with little swatches of fabric. These are oranges and yellows. And another bin that I chose from was the pinks and the reds. Just going through here, these are all pieces, again, that I wouldn't necessarily throw out because they can be used in little quilt blocks. or projects. And I put a little swatch on this so that I know what colors are in there when they're in the little rolling card, and I'm just tossing some offcuts in there. I know which color goes in which bin. So the ones that I kind of selected or pulled from those little bins are these colors, some pinks, peachy, kind of blush colored pink fabrics, some with red, and I did actually choose some red fabrics here with some flowers, some oranges and golds and blues. Here's a gray and some greens, some different green fabrics. So these were the little pieces that I was working with when choosing the colors to put on my little Kawandi quilt representation. And I'll just untangle this thread. I put a very long piece of thread on this needle because I'd like it to go a long distance. And the thread that I've chosen to use here is Finca number 12. It's a number 12 pearl cotton. And it's just a nice weight for a little project like this. And I went ahead and I have an idea of all the colors that I'll be using. So these are just kind of some that will go down the side, this next side here. And I thought this was cute with this little kitty on here. Actually, that'll go over that. And I'll go all the way around and continue. Matter of fact, I know that I will be using this one as well on here. And I just love this little kind of bright pop of color there. And this one with the little pine trees, evergreens on it. I know I'll be putting that like that. So I have an idea. I mean, other people may like to work serendipitously and just pull and add. I kind of like to pick things out that look nice to my eye. So that's what I have an idea of where I'm going with this. And so I added the little fula, one fula already. I have the other little fulas here to add to the other corners. And this is just a solid fabric. It's the same on both sides. I don't know if you should choose something like that or not. And these little pins that I'm using on here are little applique pins. They're the little clover applique pins. They're probably 3/4 of an inch long. And so I'm using those to pin my fabrics on. And I'm just doing that running stitch, as Catherine said, up along the edge, and then I guess we have to go our thumb's width or so. I may just go a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch down because we are working in such a small little canvas size, sort of. So I'm just stitching along, really, with a running stitch here. This is very thick up at the top. I don't know if I can actually, if I should stab stitch or if I can kind of do a running stitch on here. Maybe I can. But I was thinking as I was stitching how meditative slow stitching is and how enjoyable. And I thought I would share on my YouTube feed. A woman came up on my feed, and she's in Japan, and her videos are just beautiful. She does many different things in her videos, but she does do hand stitching, slow stitching. I would call it stitching by hand, patchwork by hand. And her work is just beautiful. She'll sew little tiny hexagons together, and her stitches are tiny, and her work is just beautiful. And the music that she plays while she's stitching, or depending on what she's showing on her video, it just takes me to a heavenly place. I just really enjoy it so much. Sometimes she'll share cooking. She'll share her garden and gardening. She grows coffee beans and bananas and all kinds of really wonderful things. And it's kind of interesting to see their cuisine as compared to our own. But I thought I would include a link to her website or her YouTube channel in the description box. I can't even really give you her name because it's in Japanese. And her more recent videos, she does have subtitles in English. There's not a lot of reading to do. I'll probably have to stab stitch here because this is very thick. This has 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and then these two folded, about 6 layers here. She does have subtitles in English, and it's not a lot of reading. It's just a sentence here or there to let you know what she's doing. But the music is just, to me, beautiful, very relaxing music. And then watching her stitch, especially if you're stitching, it's just a nice thing to have on while you're working. So I thought I would share that. I suppose I should try to add that other little fula in there. I can probably take these pins out. I'll take that on. But I thought I would share because they're just beautiful videos. And she's made some sewing kits, little coin purse, some cushions, just some really beautiful things. And I think for me, what is so enjoyable about it all is the process is beautiful and fun, but to have something beautiful when you're done, that's just bonus. And so you may enjoy seeing her work, and you'll see the videos that have the English subtitle along with the Japanese, and those are the ones that do. There are the ones that have patchwork if you'd like to check it out. But yes, I will definitely put a link to her. I've been enjoying her immensely. So that is kind of the little beginning of mine stitching along here. Not the straightest or most even of stitches, but it's fun. I'm just going to enjoy it and not worry about my stitches so much, and then I'll carry on coming down the side, and I will add, I think this one was next. So I'll add this little guy. I'll push this one over a bit and add this one, and I'll continue on down, adding my little patches as I go. And I think this is going to be fun. I don't know that I would do a big quilt like this because I think it would be hard to hang on to, especially when you get to the interior. But I am enjoying this little representation of it. So I'll be back when I have much more done, or maybe all of it completed. I'll be back in a bit. I'm back with my finished Kawandi little quilt, and this was really fun. I enjoyed this, and I'll just give you a close-up here. I just continued on after I finished that row and went right around, and then continued filling in the middle. There really wasn't much room here, many patches to add to the middle, being that I think this is probably 4 by 6, maybe, if it's that. And so I just included a little bird that I had on a piece, and this is a little fairy. This is an owl's wing, and a little kitty down here, and a rose, and this looks like maybe a thrush. So I loved these fabrics, just adding these little pieces to give it sort of a little bit of character. And I continued the running stitch with 12 pearl cotton, in sort of a light rose. And here's the backing. And I just wrote Kawandi quilt representation, traditionally done by the city people of Africa. And so this was great fun. I don't know that I would be able to do a large one, and trying to work in towards the center, I would find that hard to do. But this was really enjoyable. And so I continued to try to catch up a little bit more with Catherine's weekly stitch projects. And this is my little version of Baji. I watched a few videos on Korean people that do Baji, and of course we want the fabric to be the same on the front and the back, so I used some oak-shot fabrics that I have, and this is where I keep my oak-shot fabrics. If you've watched my studio tour, you know that I like to store my fabrics in pretty boxes. And so I just put a little label on here, oak-shot, so that I would know. And these fabrics, these colors are beautiful, just beautiful. They have a sheen to them. The warp and the weft are two different colors. And you can see that in the selvage on these fabrics. And so I did try to choose some pieces with selvage on the outside. For instance, this is blue with a purple, blue warp with a purple weft through it, and it just gives it a beautiful, unusual sheen. So those were the fabrics that I chose from to do the Baji, and I just put these colors together. I had made a quilt, really turned out beautifully, for my brother, with all of these beautiful bright colors, and oak-shot fabric is just beautiful to work with. And if you can see here, the selvages, I tried to keep those pieces with the selvage still on the perimeter of this little piece of Baji. And I added a little daisy here because I was just enjoying stitching, and then I went around the outside all the way around with a running stitch, and I just wrote on my page Baji, thoughts of Noni M, and this especially was filled with nostalgia in a sense for me. It made me think of my Noni, and she was a beautiful seamstress, unbelievable. And I have just one of her little pillowcases here. She would add lace to all of her sheets and her daughter's sheets, and she would do you can see here like little flanges on her sheets. She would even do entredeux. She would take the hem off and she would add the lace, but the characteristic sign that it was something that my Noni had worked on is the fact that the seams were all French seams, all enclosed. All of her seams were French seams. You didn't see any raw seams in my grandmother's work. Let me see if I can find the side seam here. I don't know if you can see that, but the seams were all French seams. That's what my mom called them, French seams. She was self-taught entirely, and she did her work on a treadle, a white treadle sewing machine. But as you can see up here, all the seams are enclosed. Her work was absolutely beautiful and always meticulous. I think that's probably who I've always aspired to be like as my little Noni. And so this little piece for me brought back memories of her and her French seams, and how she enclosed all the raw edges always in her work, a telltale sign that it was done by Noni. So this is my little Baji, and next I decided to go all the way to week number 1 and do the weaving. And again, this was fun. I just cut a piece of fabric and did my weaving on that. My pages, I think, are 5 by 7 approximately, so this is a little over 4 by 6. And in the beginning of the video, I had showed where I keep all of the pieces of fabric for this Kawandi in little fabric cubes that I made. Well, for this weaving, I went to my larger box of scraps. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. And this is a large box of scraps and offcuts from quilting, from all of the quilts that I've done. So this had lots of nice strips for me, not so much the small pieces, but strips that I could use in this weaving. And so this came in handy. I just dug through this box, and I'm actually in the process of taking all of these pieces and organizing them into those little fabric cubes that I made by color, so that when I'm doing a little improvisational block, which I love to do, I don't have to dig through here for color. I can just go right to my little fabric cubes and find the color that I'm looking for. So this is where the strips came from for this little fabric weaving piece. And this was fun. This was really enjoyable. The raw edges kind of keeps fraying out, but I'm guessing at some point it'll stop, but probably because I was handling it too a lot. While I was stitching this, I was listening to a story by Leo Tolstoy, and it was really interesting. It's so funny how you remember what you were doing or what you were listening to when you were working on something. And for this one, I just wrote, oh, there's threads all over. On this one, I just wrote weaving. The woven threads of life make a beautiful tapestry. I just thought that was fitting. I feel like all of our experiences in our life definitely are woven together in our personality and our persona, our perception of life and our outlook. So I thought that was kind of fitting to put on there. And again, I put my initials and the date on this one. So this one, let's see. So far I've been able to sew back to back. So I've been able, on the feathers, I put the 9 patch, and on the Kawandi, I was able to put the Baji. And on the weaving, the next one, I'm not sure if I will put the next one, I think it's 12 here, or if I'll put it here, but I've kind of begun that. And I just tore some pieces of fabric and did a double layer. And I guess this is the one that goes in the book, but I'm thinking if the other one isn't too damaged or anything, I can't imagine in 3 months it being damaged, I may put that one in too. So I've just written with a friction pen on here, if you love something, set it free. So that would be one. And then the second one, and this again consists of 2 layers of fabric that are torn. If it comes back, it's yours. And then I also added on the other side, if not, it was never meant to be. And that's the quote. That seems to go with the quote. So that one may go over here on this side. These 2 may be together. I'm not sure. I haven't begun to stitch those yet. And I was planning on stitching, let's see, this one, the one that is buried, or whatever we decide to do with that. I was going to do that tomorrow, and I looked out and it's actually snowing here. So I don't know. I'm thinking I'll go down. I don't live in any woods or anything, any type of wooded area. I was thinking I may go down to behind the gazebo and put it in the ground there. I don't know, that bothers me, the thought of putting it in the ground. And I have a silly little red poodle who, if she sees me digging anywhere, like planting sunflower seeds or other little plants, loves to come along and dig them up because she thinks, well, you're playing in the dirt, why can't I? So I'm not sure. I may have to leave her in when if I decide to bury it. My other thought was that I may just tie it in a tree. I may tie it up in the magnolia tree and just see what happens there to it. I don't know. Being in the dirt is a little disturbing to me, but again, I don't know. It's interesting. Who knows what these things will look like? So that is that's where I am with K3n Cloth Tales, weekly stitch along, the weaving project, the Baji, and the Kawandi I've caught up. Well, I haven't caught up, but that's where I am so far. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I'm wishing you many blessings, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.